Hey crime history buffs, welcome to Mafia History Decoded. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously, do it. And tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We love hearing from our viewers across the globe. Now let's dive into a tale of hidden empires and even more hidden hearts. Mia Carter stared at her phone, watching the call timer go past 0. 43 minutes of tough talks with the city's most feared man, and she'd somehow managed to get a deal that wouldn't get her client whacked. Her hands were still shaking. "Is he gone?" Chloe whispered from across the big meeting room. Mia nodded, letting out a breath she felt like she'd been holding for an hour. She tossed her phone onto the polished table and dropped into her comfy chair. The huge windows of Carter Legal Group showed 4 women who looked like they'd just been through a war. That voice though, Maya, the assistant, fanned herself a bit too much. Even when he's threatening to break legs, it sounds so smooth. Smooth like broken glass and bad decisions, Chloe shot back, but she was smiling. Mia pressed her hands against her eyes. Leo Thorne. Just hearing his name made her heart race, not from fear, but from the 3 years she'd spent pretending he wasn't in her dreams. 3 years of making deals over the phone and at fancy tables, keeping her cool, professional face on, while her heart did flips every time he said her name. "Come on, Mia," Bella, her younger colleague, leaned forward with a knowing grin. "You can't tell me you don't feel it. The sparks between you two could light up this whole building." "There are no sparks," Mia lied, and the words tasted bitter. "There's a client-lawyer relationship based on respect, and the understanding that he could have me killed if I mess up his paperwork." "Respect," Maya laughed. "Girl, the man calls you at midnight just to hear what you think about what wine goes with dinner. That's not respect, that's—" "Stop," but Mia was smiling, even though she didn't want to. A warm feeling spread through her chest. "You're making things up." Chloe stood, gathering her papers. "Whatever helps you sleep at night, I guess, though I bet you don't sleep much thinking about those shoulders. Did you see him at the charity event last month? That suit should have been illegal." Something inside Mia snapped. Maybe it was the crash after all the adrenaline from the negotiation, or maybe it was 3 years of holding in every feeling until she felt like she was choking on them. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "I'm in love with him." Silence filled the room like a giant wave. "I've been in love with him since the first time he walked into this office," Mia continued, the secret pouring out now, impossible to stop. "Since he looked at me with those dark eyes and asked if I was brave enough to represent a monster, I should have said no. Any smart person would have said no. But I took one look at him and thought, this is the man who's going to mess up my life and I'm going to let him." Her colleagues stared, mouths open. "Every negotiation is torture," Mia said, her voice cracking. "Because I have to sit across from him and pretend I'm not watching how he moves. How his jaw tightens when he's thinking, how he taps his fingers on the table when he's about to make a risky move. I know his tells better than I know my own, and it's killing me because he sees me as nothing more than his smart lawyer who keeps him out of jail." "Mia," Chloe started, but Mia wasn't finished. 3 years of midnight phone calls where we talk about everything except what I really want to say. 3 years of him sending black roses to my office. Black roses because of course he would, with notes that say, for keeping me honest, when all I want is for him to be dishonest with me for once. To drop the crime boss mask and just be Leo. Just be the man who sometimes quotes old poems and remembers that I take my coffee with too much sugar, and once told me I had a fighter's spirit. She laughed, but it was a choked sound. "I'm a corporate lawyer who fell in love with a crime lord. How's that for professional rules?" Maya reached for Mia's hand. "Does he know?" "God, no." Mia wiped her eyes, surprised they were wet. "He can never know. Men like Leo Thorne don't fall in love with women like me. They fall in love with danger and power and the thrill of their empire. I'm just the person who makes sure his contracts are solid and his businesses look legal. I'm useful. That's all I'll ever be." "You don't know that," Bella said softly. "I do." Mia stood, straightening her jacket, trying to put back on the shield that had fallen apart. "And it's fine. It has to be fine because the other choice is walking away. And I can't do that. I'd rather have him in my life as a client than not have him at all, even if it means watching from the sidelines while he—" A sound cut through her words, a tiny, tiny sound that made her blood run cold. Her phone screen was still glowing on the meeting room table. Active call. Leo Thorne, 46 minutes 23 seconds. Time stopped. Mia's vision zoomed in on that small green light, that terrible proof that the call had never ended, that somewhere across the city Leo Thorne had heard every single word. Oh my God, Chloe breathed. Mia lunged for the phone, her fingers numb, her heart trying to burst out of her chest. The screen confirmed her worst fear. Connected. He'd been connected this whole time. How long had he been listening? Since she ended the business call, since the first moment she'd said his name, since she'd said, "I'm in love with him." Her thumb hovered over the end call button, but her body had forgotten how to move, because there in the silence on the other end of the line she heard breathing. Steady, controlled breathing. The breathing of a man who'd just heard his lawyer confess feelings she'd hidden for 3 years. Then Leo Thorne's voice, dark as midnight and twice as dangerous, said, "Mia Carter, don't hang up." The phone nearly slipped from Mia's hands. Around her the meeting room had frozen, Chloe's hand halfway to her mouth, Maya's eyes wide as dinner plates, Bella gripping the edge of the table like it was the only solid thing in a shaking world. "Mr. Thorne," Mia's voice came out steady, a small miracle. "I didn't realize I was still on the line." His tone gave nothing away, smooth and controlled as always. Clearly, heat rushed to her face, crawling down her neck. Professional Mia would apologize, would laugh it off as office gossip, would rebuild her walls brick by careful brick. But professional Mia had just burned to the ground, and what rose from those ashes was something different. "How much did you hear?" she asked. A pause that stretched like a tightrope. "Enough." Chloe was frantically waving at her to hang up, to run, to do anything but continue this talk. Mia turned away from them, pressing the phone tighter to her ear, as if she could somehow climb through the connection and see his face. "I should explain." "Don't," the word cracked through the line like a whip. "Don't you dare explain it away. Don't make it smaller than it was." Mia's breath caught. In 3 years of talks, she'd learned to read the small changes in Leo's voice. The tiny shift when he was bluffing, the dangerous quiet before he moved. But this was completely new territory. "What do you want me to say?" she whispered. "Did you mean it?" Each word was sharp, controlled. "When you said you'd rather have me in your life as a client than not have me at all, did you mean it?" "Yes." "Good," something rustled on his end like he was standing up. "Because you're going to have me in your life in a very different way. Be at your office tomorrow morning. 7, Mia, don't be late." The call ended. She stared at her phone, her reflection like a ghost in the black screen. Behind her, chaos erupted. "What did he say?" Maya rushed forward. "Mia, what did he say?" "He wants to meet tomorrow." The words felt unconnected from her mouth. Bella grabbed her shoulders. "And what else? You can't just leave us hanging after that whole conversation." "I don't know." Mia sank into her chair, reality hitting her hard. "I don't know what he wants. I don't know what I've done." Chloe's expression changed from shock to worry. "Maybe you should call in sick tomorrow. Give this time to calm down." "Calm down," Mia laughed, but it sounded wild. "I just told the most powerful crime boss in the city how I've felt for 3 years. This isn't something that calms down. This is something that gets you disappeared." "He wouldn't hurt you," Maya insisted. "Right, I mean you're his lawyer, he needs you." Mia wasn't sure of anything anymore. She spent 3 years building a careful, professional relationship, keeping boundaries that kept them both safe. Now those boundaries were gone, and she had no idea what waited on the other side. That night sleep was impossible. Mia lay in her apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying every word. The way Leo's voice had dropped when he said, "Don't make it smaller than it was." The command in his tone when he told her not to be late. At 3 a.m. her phone vibrated, a text from an unknown number, though she knew exactly who it was. "Black roses don't mean what you think they mean." Her heart skipped a beat. She typed back, "Then what do they mean?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Tomorrow." Mia arrived at her office at 6:45 a.m., 15 minutes early because she couldn't stand waiting at home. She changed clothes 4 times, finally picking a dark grey suit that made her feel ready for battle. Her reflection in the elevator doors showed dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. The office was empty, quiet, except for the soft hum of the air system. Mia made coffee she didn't want and wouldn't drink, just to have something to do with her hands. She looked over contracts she'd already seen, checked emails that didn't matter. At exactly 7 a.m. the elevator chimed. Leo Thorne stepped into her office like he owned it, which, given his investment in the building, he technically did. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. His dark hair was slicked back, that same intense focus she'd admired and feared for 3 years. But something was different. The way he looked at her had changed, like he was seeing her without the professional filter they'd both used. "You're early," he said, closing the door behind him. "So are you. I haven't slept." He walked across the room, stopping a careful distance away, close enough that she could see the faint stubble along his jaw, the way his tie was slightly loose. "I've been thinking about what you said, about being useful." Mia's throat tightened. "Mr. Thorne." "Leo," his eyes locked on hers. "After yesterday I think we're past formal titles." "All right, Leo," his name felt risky on her tongue. "Why are you here?" "Because I have a proposition." He reached into his jacket, pulled out a folder. "And because you were wrong about something." "What's that?" "You said men like me don't fall in love with women like you." Leo's face showed no emotion. "You said you're just useful, that you'd only ever be useful." He handed her the folder. Mia opened it with shaking fingers. Inside were photographs. Her brother Alex at an underground casino, stacks of chips, worried faces, and debts. God, the debts, numbers that made her stomach drop. "Your brother owes $200,000 to the Shadow Syndicate," Leo said quietly. "They'll come to collect in 72 hours, and when they do they won't be kind." Mia's world tilted. "How do you?" "I know everything about you, Mia Carter." He stepped closer. "I've known about Alex's gambling problem for 6 months. Betrayal tasted like metal. You knew and didn't tell me." "I was waiting for the right moment." His hand caught her chin, tilting her face up. "The right leverage." Mia pulled away from his touch, anger flaring in her chest. "Leverage? You're using my brother as leverage." "I'm offering you a solution." Leo's voice stayed annoyingly calm. "The Shadow Syndicate are brutal. They won't just take Alex's money, they'll take pieces of him. Fingers first, then worse." The folder slipped from her hands, photographs scattering across her desk. Alex's face stared up at her from a dozen different angles, caught in his worst moments. Her younger brother, who she'd raised after their parents died, who'd promised her he was done with gambling. "What do you want?" The question came out cold. "Be my fiancé." Mia's laugh was sharp enough to cut. "Excuse me." "Not really." Leo walked around her desk like a predator, exact and precise. "My family has been pushing me to settle down. Old family values, the importance of legacy, all the things that come with running an empire that's been in the Thorne family for 3 generations. They think a wife will make me respectable." "And you think I'm desperate enough to agree to this?" "I think you love your brother enough to do anything to save him." He stopped directly in front of her. "Be my fiancé for 6 months. Convince my family I'm becoming domesticated. In exchange, I clear Alex's debt and make sure the syndicate never touches him again." Mia's mind raced. 6 months of pretending to be engaged to the man she'd been in love with for 3 years. 6 months of playing house with someone who just admitted he'd been watching her brother fall apart, waiting for the perfect moment to use it. "You're a bastard," she whispered. "I'm practical." Something flickered in his eyes, too fast to catch. "I need someone my family will believe, someone smart, successful, strong enough to handle my world. You're perfect." Perfect, the word tasted bitter. "Yesterday you heard me confess I'm in love with you, and today you're blackmailing me into a fake engagement. How romantic." Leo's jaw tightened. "I'm saving your brother's life." "You're manipulating me." Mia grabbed the photographs, stuffing them back into the folder. "This is what you do, isn't it? Find people's weak spots and use them. I thought I was different, I thought." She stopped herself. "You thought what?" He moved closer, invading her space. "That the feelings were mutual, that yesterday meant something." "Get out of my office, Leo. Get out." Her voice cracked. "You want an answer? Fine, I'll do it. I'll be your fake fiancé and smile for your family and play the beautiful woman who tamed the big bad wolf. But don't expect me to pretend this is anything other than what it is. Extortion." For the first time since she'd known him, Leo looked truly stunned. "That's not what this is." "Then what would you call it?" Mia demanded. "You're holding my brother's life hostage unless I agree to your terms. That's textbook coercion." "I'm offering you an arrangement that benefits us both." But his voice had lost some of its certainty. "You're offering me a nightmare dressed up as a solution to a problem you could have prevented." Mia straightened her back, calling on every bit of courtroom strength she had. "If you told me about Alex 6 months ago, I could have helped him, but you waited, you watched, and now you want me to believe this is rescue, not manipulation." Silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. My family dinner is this Saturday, Leo finally said, his voice carefully neutral. I'll send a car at 6, wear something that doesn't scream corporate warrior. I'm a lawyer, not a miracle worker, but the fight had left her voice, replaced by tiredness. How do you want me to play this? Madly in love, deeply devoted, give me the character notes. Just be yourself. He turned toward the door, then stopped. That confession yesterday, the one you think I'm using, you weren't wrong about everything. Mia's heart leaped. What does that mean? It means black roses don't mean for keeping me honest. Leo looked back at her, and for just a moment his mask slipped. In flower language they mean you're the only one. Then he was gone, leaving Mia alone with the wreckage of her world. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Mia called Alex, who denied everything until she mentioned the Shadow Syndicate by name. Then he broke down, crying apologies over the phone, swearing he'd been about to tell her, claiming he had a plan to pay it back. It's handled, Mia told him, her voice hollow. Just stay away from the casinos, all of them. How did you? Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. She hung up before he could push further. That evening, Chloe appeared at her apartment with wine and Chinese takeout. Maya told me what happened. Well, the version where your scary client overheard your confession, not whatever happened this morning because you've been ignoring our texts all day. Mia let her in, grateful for the company, even if she couldn't share the full truth. The fake engagement, Alex's debts, the way Leo had looked at her when he explained about the black roses. He wants me to meet his family, Mia said instead, which was technically true. Chloe nearly dropped her wine glass. He what? Saturday dinner. Apparently I made enough of an impression that he wants to introduce me to the Thorns. The lies came easier than they should have. It's probably nothing, just professional courtesy. Professional courtesy? Chloe stared at her. Mia, the man heard you say you're in love with him and now he's taking you to meet his family. That's not professional anything. That's terrifying, Mia suggested. I was going to say promising. Chloe squeezed her hand. Maybe he feels the same way. Maybe he's been waiting for you to make the first move. Mia thought about the folder of photographs, about Alex's debt and Leah's calculating eyes, about the way he'd said, you weren't wrong about everything before walking away. Maybe Chloe was right, or maybe Mia was about to discover just how deep Leo Thorne's manipulation could go. Saturday arrived too quickly. Mia stood in front of her closet at 4 p.m., surrounded by rejected outfits like a tornado had hit. Everything screamed either courtroom warrior or trying too hard. Nothing said, I'm fake engaged to your son, but please believe it's real. She finally chose a deep emerald dress, elegant without being showy, traditional enough to respect his family's values, fitted enough to remind Leo exactly what he was using as a pawn in his game. The car arrived at exactly 6, not Leo's usual driver, but a younger man who introduced himself as Kai and treated her with a careful respect that felt rehearsed. They drove for 40 minutes into the hills where old money lived behind gates and garden walls. The Thorne estate made Mia's breath catch. Traditional architecture mixed seamlessly with modern luxury. Curved roof lines and stone paths leading to a sprawling mansion that managed to feel both ancient and contemporary. Leo waited at the entrance, and Mia hated how her heart skipped a beat at the sight of him. He'd swapped his usual sharp suits for something slightly softer. Still expensive, still perfectly tailored, but less like a weapon and more like a man. You're on time, he said, offering his arm. You're paying me to be, but she took his arm anyway, felt the solid warmth of him through the fabric. Mia, his voice dropped low enough that Kai couldn't hear. My family can't know this is an arrangement. That means you need to sell this. Can you do that? She looked up at him, smiled with all her teeth. I've been selling things I don't believe in for 3 years. This won't be any different. Something dark flashed in his eyes, but before he could respond, the door opened. An older woman stood framed in golden light. Her elegance so easy it made Mia feel like a child playing dress-up. Mrs. Thorne had to be in her 60s, but she moved with the grace of someone half that age. Her traditional gown, a masterpiece of silk and embroidery. Mother, Leek said, his entire manner changing, becoming softer, younger. This is Mia Carter. Mrs. Thorne's eyes swept over Mia with sharp precision. Then unexpectedly she smiled. So, you're the one who's been keeping my son honest. Mia blinked. Ah, yes, I suppose I am. Come inside, you must be cold. Mrs. Thorne's English was clear and perfect. Leo has told us nothing about you, which means you must be very important. He only hides the things that matter. The inside was stunning, modern style mixed with traditional art, everything carefully chosen to show wealth without flaunting it. Mia counted at least 3 original paintings that would make museum curators cry. Leo's father appeared from what looked like a library, and Mia understood immediately where Leo got his intensity. Mr. Thorne was shorter than his son, but carried himself like a man who'd never doubted his right to command. His handshake was firm, his eyes sharp enough to cut. "A lawyer," he said like he was solving a puzzle. "That explains the way you look at contracts. Leo showed me your work on the warehouse deal. Impressive." "Thank you, Mr. Thorne." Mia felt Leo's hand settle on the small of her back, possessive and warm. Dinner was served in a dining room that could seat 20 but felt cozy with just the 4 of them. Traditional dishes appeared in endless succession, each more beautiful than the last. Mrs. Thorne asked gentle questions about Mia's family, her background, her work. Mia answered carefully, leaving out the parts about dead parents and raising Alex alone, focusing instead on her education and career. "And how did you two meet?" Mrs. Thorne's smile was knowing. "Leo said it was through business, but business doesn't put that look in a man's eyes." Mia nearly choked on her water. Leo's hand found her knee under the table, squeezed once in warning or reassurance. "She walked into my life and told me I was making a mistake," Leo said, his voice carrying a closeness that Mia knew was an act but felt dangerously real. "Told me my contract had 3 big problems, and if I didn't fix them right away, I'd lose everything." "I was more diplomatic than that," Mia protested. "You told me I was being an idiot." His eyes met hers, and Mia saw the trap she'd walked into. "You said any first-year law student could see the problems, and if I was going to build an empire, I needed someone who wasn't afraid to tell me the truth." That part was real. She remembered that meeting, remembered thinking she'd lose the client before she even got him. Instead, Leo had leaned back in his chair and laughed. A real laugh, not the controlled version he showed the world. "I knew then," he continued, his thumb tracing circles on her knee that made it impossible to focus. "She was either going to save me or destroy me, maybe both." Mrs. Thorne looked delighted. "And when did you know you loved him?" Mia's breath caught. This was the performance, the lie she needed to sell, but the words that came out weren't planned or careful. "The first time he sent black roses to my office," she said quietly. "I didn't understand what they meant then. I thought they were a joke or a threat or just another one of his games, but he kept sending them every month without fail, and I started waiting for them, started checking my desk every morning, hopping to see that black velvet box." She looked at Leo, let him see something real flickering beneath the fake act. "I think I fell in love with him, one black rose at a time." The table went silent. Mrs. Thorne's eyes glistened. Mr. Thorne cleared his throat roughly, and Leo stared at Mia like she just revealed something that scared him. "Well," Mrs. Thorne finally said, her voice thick with emotion, "I think we need to start planning a wedding." The ride back to Mia's apartment was suffocatingly silent. Leo sat beside her in the back seat, close enough that she could feel the heat from him, far enough that the distance felt deliberate. "You were convincing," he finally said as they pulled onto her street. "That's what you're paying me for." Mia kept her eyes on the window, watching street lights blur past. "Mia, don't." She turned to face him. "Don't analyze what I said in there. Don't pick it apart looking for truth versus acting. You got what you wanted. Your mother is already planning centerpieces. Mission accomplished." The car stopped. Mia reached for the door handle, but Leo's hand caught her wrist. "The black roses," he said quietly. "You really waited for them." "Every single month for 3 years, she pulled free. "Good night, Leo." Inside her apartment, Mia lasted exactly 5 minutes before the tears came. Not gentle crying, but the ugly, gasping kind that shook her entire body. She'd just spent 3 hours selling a fantasy to his parents while sitting next to the man who'd blackmailed her into this nightmare. The worst part, some of it hadn't felt like acting. Her phone vibrated. "Leo, thank you for tonight." She typed back, "Send Alex's debt clearance paperwork by Monday." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Already done, check your email." Mia opened her laptop with shaking hands. There it was. Official documents that Alex's debt to the Shadow Syndicate had been paid in full with a legal order that would keep them away permanently. Dated yesterday, before the dinner, before she'd proven herself to his family. Her phone rang. She answered without thinking. "You paid it yesterday," she said instead of hello. "I was always going to pay it." Leo's voice was rough. Regardless of my answer, then why? Mia's throat closed. Why the arrangement? Why make me agree to this? Silence stretched for so long she thought he'd hung up. Then, because I'm a coward, because the only way I could have you in my life was to create a situation where you had no choice but to let me in. That's not having me, Leo, that's trapping me. I know, he let out a shaky breath. I've known since the moment I heard your confession. I've been obsessed with you for 3 years, Mia. Every black rose, every midnight call, every excuse I made to see you. It was never about business. It was about being near you without admitting what you meant to me. Mia pressed her hand against her mouth, tears streaming faster. But I'm a monster, Leo continued. My world destroys beautiful things. I've watched it happen over and over, so I kept my distance, told myself that keeping you safe meant keeping you away. Then I heard you say you'd rather have me as a client than not at all. And his voice cracked, I couldn't let you go. So I made a reason to tie you to me, to have you without risking you. You should have just asked me out like a normal person. The words came out half laugh, half sob. Normal people don't run criminal empires. Normal people don't fall in love with crime lords either. Mia wiped her eyes. But here we are. The conversation changed after that night. Leo called less about contracts and more about everything else. His childhood, the weight of family legacy, the loneliness that came with power. Mia shared stories about raising Alex, about law school, about the tiredness of being strong all the time. 2 weeks passed, then 3. They attended 2 more family dinners. A charity gala where Leo's hand never left the small of her back. A gallery opening where he whispered translations of old poems in her ear until she shivered. The line between pretending and reality blurred until Mia couldn't find it anymore. It happened on a Thursday. Leo appeared at her office at noon with Thai food and that half-smile she'd memorized years ago. Your assistant said you've been here since 6 a.m. He unpacked containers on her desk. When's the last time you ate? Yesterday, Mia rubbed her eyes. The Morrison case is killing me. Take a break, he handed her chopsticks. The case will still be there in 30 minutes. They ate in comfortable silence, the kind that only came from knowing someone deeply. Leo's foot brushed hers under the desk, and neither of them moved away. My mother wants us to come to the estate this weekend, he said carefully. She's insisting on showing you her garden. Fair warning, when a mother shows you her garden, she's planning the wedding location. Leo, Mia set down her chopsticks. What are we doing? Eating pad thai. You know what I mean, she gestured between them. This was supposed to be fake, 6 months of pretending. Then we go our separate ways, but it doesn't feel fake anymore, at least not to me. His expression was still. Mia, I need to know if I'm the only one feeling this, if I'm the only one who thinks about you constantly, who replays every conversation. Who? Leo stood abruptly, circled the desk. Before Mia could process his movement, his hands cupped her face and his mouth crashed against hers. The kiss was desperate. 3 years of holding back shattered in an instant. Mia gasped and Leo deepened the kiss, one hand sliding into her hair while the other pulled her closer. She tasted his hunger, his frustration, his need. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Leo pressed his forehead to hers. You're not the only one, he whispered roughly. You've never been the only one. Mia's phone shattered the moment, an unknown number flashing urgently. She almost ignored it, but years of lawyer instinct made her answer. Mia Carter. Ms. Carter, this is Detective Miller. We've been trying to reach Leo Thorne. His associate was just found dead, and we have reason to believe. The line went dead. Mia looked at her phone in confusion, then at Leo. His face had gone white. Get down. Glass exploded inward as Leo tackled Mia to the floor, his body covering hers. Bullets tore through the office, her desk, the windows, the wall where her diplomas hung. The sound was deafening, endless. Then silence, broken only by car alarms shrieking below. Are you hurt? Leo's hands frantically checked her for injuries. I'm fine. Mia's training kicked in before she could stop it. Tactical assessment, threat evaluation, exit strategies. They're moving. We have maybe 90 seconds before the next wave. Leo stared at her. How do you conference room now? Mia was already moving, staying low, her heels kicked off somewhere in the chaos. They'll expect us to go for the elevator or stairs. The conference room has a service door that leads to the maintenance shaft. Mia, what the hell? She grabbed his hand, pulled him through the destroyed office. Behind them, footsteps pounded in the hallway. Multiple attackers, coordinated. the Shadow Syndicate's signature style. The conference room door was reinforced, one of Mia's careful additions when she designed the office. She locked it, knowing it would buy them maybe 3 minutes. The maintenance shaft, Leo said slowly, watching her work with terrifying speed. How do you know about that? Mia's hands paused on the service door. Because I was an undercover agent for 6 years before I became a lawyer. The confession hung between them like a grenade. Federal, his voice was eerily calm. Started federal, then deeper. She yanked the door open. I infiltrated groups your people have never even heard of. I was pulled out after a mission went wrong. They offered me witness protection or a fresh start with a new identity. I chose the fresh start and became a lawyer, became someone who never had to pretend again. Mia met his eyes. I was tired of lying, tired of being whoever the mission needed. I wanted to be just Mia Carter, corporate attorney, boring and safe and real. Bullets slammed into the conference room door. We're discussing this later, Leo growled. Right now you follow my lead. Mia disappeared into the maintenance shaft. Leo closed it behind them. The space was tight, dark, smelling of dust and old metal. They want you, not me. This is the Shadow Syndicate's revenge for you paying Alex's debt and cutting off their money flow. How many? I counted 6 distinct firing patterns, military-grade weapons. They're not here to negotiate. They moved through the shaft, Mia finding her way with the confidence of someone who'd memorized every exit in her building. Years of civilian life hadn't erased her training. It had just been sleeping, waiting for the moment she'd need it again. Behind them, the conference room door finally gave way. Mia led Leo down through passages that maintenance workers barely remembered existed until they emerged in the parking garage. His car was there, miraculously untouched. Keys, Mia demanded. Leo handed them over without argument, watching as she slid into the driver's seat with the smooth grace of someone who'd done tactical driving in 6 countries. They were 3 blocks away when Leo finally spoke. Who else knows about your past? No one. Mia's eyes never left the road, scanning for threats. The agency buried everything. As far as the world knows, I graduated law school and went straight into practice. The Black Roses, his voice was rough. When did you know who I really was? First meeting. Mia took a sharp turn. Former intelligence doesn't forget how to read people. I knew you were dangerous within 30 seconds, knew you were a crime boss within 3 minutes, and I took you on as a client anyway. Why? Because I saw something in you that wasn't a monster. She glanced at him. I saw someone carrying a burden they never asked for, someone trying to build something legitimate from a legacy of blood, someone who quoted poems and sent flowers and called at midnight just to hear another person's voice. Leo's hand found hers on the gear shift. I'm leaving it, all of it. Mia's heart skipped. What, the family business, the empire? I've been building legitimate operations for 5 years, quietly transferring power, creating distance. Tonight was supposed to be my official exit. Why? They targeted me. He squeezed her hand. I was going to tell you after dinner, ask if you'd be willing to build something real with me, not a fake engagement for my family's sake, real partnership, real future. Leo's. I've been obsessed with you since you walked into my office and called me an idiot, he continued. I planned Alex's debt because I'm a coward who couldn't just tell you the truth. I've spent 3 years sending you black roses that mean you're the only one, while pretending it was professional courtesy. I heard your confession, and my first thought was, finally. My second thought was, she'll never forgive me for what I'm about to do. Mia pulled over in an empty lot, engine idling. You're really leaving the crime world. I'm really leaving. His eyes searched hers. I want to wake up next to you without worrying someone will use you to hurt me. I want to take you to dinner without checking for threats. I want to build an empire that doesn't require violence, and I want to do it with you. The real you, not corporate Mia or undercover Mia, just you. I'm a mess, Mia whispered. I'm broken from years of pretending. I don't know how to be normal. Good, Leo pulled her close, kissed her like he was starving. Normal is overrated. Be broken with me, be real with me, be mine. Mia kissed him back, tasting promise and possibility and the future they'd both been too afraid to reach for. For the record, she murmured against his mouth, I would have said yes without the blackmail. I know, he smiled. That real smile she'd been collecting for 3 years, but I needed the excuse to finally touch you. They had work to do, problems to handle, families to convince, lives to rebuild, But right now, in this moment, they were just Leo and Mia, finally honest, finally together. All right, folks, that's another decoded story from the shadows of history. What did you think? Drop your thoughts and tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to Mafia History Decoded for more gripping tailies. See you next time.